Hi, my name is Chris Barrineau, and I am speaking once again today with Kambiz Naficy, meditation master and creator of Coming Full Circle. Coming Full Circle is a transformative course that allows students to remove self-limiting beliefs and heal from past traumas. This is a series of talks I'm conducting with Kambiz to learn a little bit more about the course. And from the outset, I'd like to say, for full disclosure, that I took it as well and had an amazing impact in many ways in my life. And I want to help Kambiz get this information out to people who need similar type help. Kambiz is coming to us today from Florida, I believe. How's it going down there? The weather looks great.
Yes, it's Tampa, Florida. It's not our usual recording setup, so I asked the audience to be patient. We're just doing this on the fly today.
Very good. I wanted to start off by understanding the unique process that is coming full circle. It's a blend of ancient spiritual practices and modern psychological techniques. Before I took the course, I had never been introduced to Kriya Yoga. I had meditated before, but Kriya Yoga is a whole different process. Kambiz, can you tell us what is Kriya Yoga?
Sure. Kriya Yoga is about 1800 years old, and it is a science of using respiration and breathing along with changes in your attention. So the philosophy in Kriya Yoga is as you place attention on a particular point or energy center in the body, following your attention is the breath, and following the breath is a life force called prana. So during Kriya Yoga, you purposely divert your attention to, let's say, the spine, the point between the eyebrows, the fontanelle at the crown of the head. As your attention goes there, breath and the life force naturally go to the same spot. Now, the net effect is that you are nourishing particular energy centers in your body by simply taking attention there, and by taking attention there, breath and prana go there. But there's another side effect to all this. Because you're diverting attention to particular energy centers, the mind starts to calm down. It's just that, as you're doing this calming breathing, the metabolism comes down a little bit. When the metabolism comes down, the mind starts to settle down. And then as the mind becomes very restful and peaceful, unbeknownst to the practitioner, the one doing the meditation, unbeknownst to them, the subconscious mind, which usually has its doors closed, starts to open up. The reason is subconscious opens up when the mind becomes more relaxed. This is what a hypnotist does. An hypnotist relaxes you first. Once you become super relaxed, they start throwing in suggestions. In Kriya Yoga, we don't throw in suggestions. We just use Kriya breathing to relax the body, relax the mind. When the mind is more relaxed, the subconscious, which is like a bank vault, opens up its doors. And within that subconscious is where we've got potentially a lot of problematic bits of baggage from the past. So anyways, that's a quick relationship between Kriya Yoga and healing the psyche, which is things that we're carrying in our mind that we don't want to be carrying.
When I went through Coming Full Circle, we would begin each session with Kriya Yoga, which allowed us to relax the mind and the subconscious. In my experience, that relaxation made me much more open-minded to the techniques, the modern psychological techniques that you employ in the course. Um, So it's a very unique process that I haven't seen anywhere else. And anyway, it as I said, it helped me a great deal, and I still practice Kriya Yoga to this day. It helps keep me balanced. Can you speak to a day? What does the daily practice of Kriya Yoga beyond coming full circle, just the Kriya Yoga practitioner? What are the benefits of somebody who does that regularly?
Right. Well, I'll go to the more ethereal spiritual side first and explain that in the tradition of Kriya Yoga, a Kriya teacher or master who has been able to enliven a spiritual energy within his or her own body now has the ability to enliven that same spiritual energy within your body. That energy in the Sanskrit language in India is called Kundalini Shakti. A Kundalini is a divine force lying mostly dormant in most people's bodies until awakened by a spiritual master who knows how to awaken his body. And what happens is, as you do your daily Kriya Yoga with the proper teacher, unbeknownst to yourself, a very, very subtle, invisible spiritual electricity that has been otherwise lying dormant at the base of your spine starts to move, starts to become awakened. As this spiritual energy and electricity moves and becomes awakened, you start to gain huge numbers of benefits, just like joy, regardless of the events of the day, a more present moment awareness, more mindfulness, more love instead of fear, worry, and anxiety, more physical energy, calmer sleep, stronger intuition, and of course, a lot of cooperation by natural forces. Somebody who's had their Kundalini open will see that suddenly these doors of opportunity are opening up. It's like natural forces then recognize you as one of their own because Kundalini is flowing within you. You have to keep in mind that nature doesn't have PhDs in physics and mathematics. Nature is just a very natural force that recognizes its own kind. Who is from the same tribe as nature, somebody who has less fear, less anxiety, is not intoxicated, is not always thinking about tomorrow or regrets about yesterday. Nature is very much about being here right now, being as innocent as a child, being free of fear and anxiety, being in the moment, being mindful and paying attention to the environment. That's what nature is. So as Kundalini awakens, you start to achieve all of these states of mindfulness, being more in the present moment, having more love compared to fear and anxiety. So nature just starts to recognize you as a natural being and therefore naturally starts to support you more.
So the way that the way that I experienced that was that it not only did it help me have less anxiety about worldly things, but it also helped me love myself better and understand the essence of who I am, which with the coursework allowed me to get in and reinterpret and kind of reframe and re-understand um, what it is that I was programmed with as a child. Um, can you when did it dawn on you to combine Kriya Yoga with the techniques that you use in coming full circle?
Yes, I took a 15-year sabbatical to visit India on multiple trips. And as somebody who was an apprentice at that time, I was very eager to meet the real, powerful, no-nonsense masters of meditation and yoga to understand how yogic psychology helps people heal from any kind of trauma, anything from loss of a spouse to surviving cancer to having abusive parents, doesn't matter. And so when I was traveling through India and meeting with very, very genuine, very powerful masters, I realized that those masters don't spend time on psyche and psychology. So if somebody raised their hands and said, I used to be an alcoholic, and now my history of alcoholism is haunting me, the masters in India would encourage the person to do more yoga postures, to do more prayer, to do more meditation, to read more of the scriptures, which is not bad. I mean, that basically uplifts your mind, uplifts your thoughts. It brings love to your heart. But what I realize is these masters do not really possess the interest or the expertise to know how to open the vault of the subconscious mind, these doors that are shut, that don't allow a person to view their own subconscious, to see what they've buried deep in their subconscious. And so, the yogic view was, given enough prayer, given enough association with holy people, given enough study of the scriptures, given enough meditation, you will heal because of the huge amount of spiritual knowledge and electricity flowing within you. I thought about that and I realized there's something missing there. When somebody has guilt, shame, anger, past sexual abuse, past addiction, tucked into their subconscious, it will take too long, way too long, to erase the negative images, the negative emotions, the negative habits by simply praying and meditating and doing yoga postures. So then I realized, why don't I take the very, very powerful ancient techniques of these gurus from India and combine them with some of the best knowledge that I had gained, knowledge regarding what the subconscious mind is, how do you access it, how the subconscious mind controls 80% of our lives through habits. So I understood the subconscious, I studied it, I studied how one can open up the doors of the otherwise closed subconscious. And then finally, how to use particular techniques to change any self-limiting beliefs, emotions, and habits that are tucked deep into the subconscious. Those techniques are not the same as clinical psychological tools. The techniques that the subconscious understands are somewhat childlike. For example, if somebody has not forgotten or forgiven their stepdad, and they write on a piece of paper, I truly forgive you as of today. They write that on a piece of paper, they put that paper in an ashtray, they set that paper on fire. Once everything turns into ashes, they blow those ashes onto Tampa Bay or the Atlantic Ocean. The subconscious understands that symbolic act as, I have now forgiven stepdad, I have turned those memories into ashes, and I've blown them away. So it sounds very, very childlike, but the subconscious mind understands emotional acts, it understands symbolic acts, it understands visualization, like mental cartoons, and it also understands repetition. Like when you talk to sports coaches, they'll say, we'll have an athlete do the proper movement so many times so that the proper movement becomes muscle memory. Subconscious is very much the same. In other words, if you haven't listened to positive affirmations, which are short sentences in the present tense that you keep um, repeating, reciting, like today I am curing my cancer, or today I am tapping into abundance. And you repeat that 500 times in 2 weeks. Those repetitive statements are very effective because the subconscious understands that.
You know, it's interesting. Last week when we spoke, I had a quote from Neville Goddard that came across that was very appropriate to our talk. This morning, the same thing happened, and the piece that I read talked about affirmations and using affirmations in the present tense. I'll say this, in your program, you go a step further. And I'll paraphrase, but I would like your insight into this as it affects the subconscious. I always was, I am, and will always be. I know you know what I'm referring to, but what I see out in the world are a lot of people saying affirmations in the present tense, but yours goes a step further. Can you speak to that for a moment?
Yes, you know what I mean by that mantra, I am, have always been, and will always be. What do I mean by that? Any child who's born in this world is born without any self-limiting beliefs, emotions, and habits in their subconscious. We are born clean. We are born light-footed. We have natural joy, intuition, and instincts. What happens as we become socialized is that we come across certain incidents, we hear things from grown-ups, we get punished sometimes. Somebody might guilt us, somebody else might shame us. We might witness our little brother being hit by a car as he's riding the bicycle. Any number of these things that we take in as we're growing up, these things start to put scratches on our subconscious. And then somebody listening would say, well, how does your brother having an accident affect your self-esteem or your self-worth? What happens is that if I'm the older brother and I watch my little brother get hit by a taxi cab, I might come up with an interpretation at the time of the accident that I am a bad brother because I wasn't looking out for a little brother. So I want to stop right there. The interpretation that we make a few seconds after something happens, those interpretations are what truly, truly hurt us.
Well,
Because they're, yes.
Well, you know, let's think about this for a moment. The human brain is a machine, our working mind, the mind that helps us solve math problems or cook a cake. So we want to make sense out of the world, and we're doing this innocently. It seems that, you know, and this is probably universal globally, but you know, at least in the Western world, there seems to be this tendency of blame, or you know, responsibility. Um, you know, a minute ago, let me go on a tangent here, if you would, because you talked about the meditation masters, you know, the very powerful, gentle meditation masters in India, just um would prescribe prayer and more introspection and more meditation. Is in your travels to India, is there something that you saw different in that culture, an Eastern culture versus the Western culture, regarding the subconscious and this kind of assignment of blame or responsibility, or trying to make sense of things like the younger brother getting hit by a bicycle?
Yeah, I would say one of the main differences I saw between Eastern culture and Western culture, you know, the West has an attitude of fighting nature, taming nature, overcoming nature. So the West sees like Captain America and the beauty queen and the super millionaire um, overcoming the challenges of nature. So, the West sees this big nature or outer space, and the confident Western countries say, well, we'll conquer it. We'll conquer it. The East sees this humongous power in nature, which is so much more powerful than 1,000 hydrogen bombs put together. So the East decided, well, instead of trying to tame nature, let us understand nature and let us tone down this ego of me, the captain of wealth in Wall Street. Let's tone that down. Let's quiet down the mind. Let's hone in on the moment. Let's look at Tampa Bay. Let's look at the trees. And through mindfulness, figure out what this powerful, quiet, observing nature is trying to tell us. And let us understand nature and let us try to merge with it, or at least not fight it. So this answer I just gave you is a very general difference that I see in attitude between the West and the East. Now, if I follow up on that, if I decide that nature is always going to be much more powerful than me, more wise, more intuitive, then at least I try to tone down the me. At least I try to pay more attention through mindfulness. I try to adopt practices that quiet this mind so I can observe and listen to the present moment. And then, of course, I've taken some students to very high levels of samadhi where they become the last drops of their ego drop, and they literally do become quiet observers of the day as they follow the day. So these people are not lazy, they're not depressed, they're not poor, they have everything. It's just their attitude is, I am a leaf on the Colorado River. I'm not going to overcome that river. Why don't I just ride this river of life like a leaf and face the moments around every turn, face the moments, be more flexible, and use the current of the river instead of fighting. And of course, if you're a meditator, once in a while you step out of that rushing river, you sit on the banks, and you just do 1 minute, 5 minutes of quiet observation of your day, which is very, very powerful. You take the biggest executive in the world, have them step out of the rushing river of life, just sit on the riverbanks and breathe